missing someone.
Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lena and I make videos all about computer science, software engineering, lifestyle, technology, living in New York City, and a lot of fun things like that. So if that kind of content interests you, you should definitely subscribe to my channel. But I'm just gonna dive into the reason that y'all probably clicked on my channel today, which is my regrets as a computer science student. So if you are familiar with me and my channel, I've been out of college for about a year now. It'll be a year. Oh my gosh, it's already June. It has been a year and a month at this point. So I graduated last year in 2020, and while I was in college, I studied computer science. So I got the idea for this video from Forrest Knight, so shout out to him and his channel. It's a really interesting video, and basically what I want to talk about today is the regrets that I have now looking back on my years as a computer science major in college. So things that I wish I had done differently when I was a computer science major in college, things that I regret, and then we're also going to touch on some things that I think I did well and I would encourage y'all to do if you are studying computer science in college. So the very first thing I want to touch on, and I feel like everybody probably agrees with this to a certain extent, is I think that when I was transitioning from high school to college, I should have studied harder. For me, high school was difficult, but college was harder, and I think this is true for most people. But when I started college, I was putting in about the same amount of effort that I was putting into high school, and I quickly realized that it was not enough to succeed in college. So especially going from taking a wide variety of courses in high school to mainly focusing on STEM courses in college, which is what I did, the learning curve was just much steeper, and I had to put in a lot more time outside of class in order to succeed in my classes. So I think just knowing that the jump between high school and college is hard and putting in the effort up front can really make a difference, especially in terms of your freshman year grades. I eventually figured out that I needed to study harder, but I didn't do as well in my freshman year of college as I would have hoped. I don't think that has significantly held me back in any way, but it is something that I wish I had done differently. The next thing that I wish I had done, and I feel like everybody says this, but please listen to me and actually do it, is going to my professor's office hours to just chill, relax, and meet the professor. So I think I did a pretty good job of going to office hours, especially for the TAs of my courses, because I just needed help on the homework and I needed help on the projects, and that was a really great resource to do that. But I think I kind of missed an opportunity in terms of going to my professor's office hours specifically in order to meet the professor, figure out what they were interested in, kind of get a deeper understanding on the course material that the TAs might not have had. It's always good to get that perspective from the professor, and I feel like I mostly got it from the TAs, and I probably missed out on a key part of the class because I wasn't getting all of this face time with professors. I definitely thought later down the road I could have done a better job networking with professors and just meeting more of them in general, especially if you study computer science. I think at most schools it's a really big major, so just getting some face time with the professor isn't necessarily a given in a lot of your classes. So I'd highly recommend just going to office hours just so the professor knows who you are, and maybe it'll be a good connection and you can relate to them on some level or another. Okay, the next topic I'm going to touch on is just classes in general, what I wish I had taken, what I wish I had done differently. So my first regret in this area is that I think I spent too much time stressed out about my math classes. Math is super important. It's a subject that I actually like, and I did like in high school, and I knew I would like in college. But in college, for me, math was a lot harder, and I just became more interested in computer science than I was in math. I know you need math to do computer science, and that's probably why I liked both, but I found the computer science a lot easier than I found the math. But I really spent a lot of time trying to do my best in my math classes, figure out all the problems, completely understand everything, when I think that time could actually have been better spent focusing more on my computer science classes, which were the things that I ended up focusing on later down the road and I ended up caring more about. So not to say that math isn't important, but I was spending maybe twice the amount of time on my math courses as I was my computer science courses, and I think that kind of led to me not fully understanding everything in my computer science courses at the expense of my math courses. So I guess that's a long-winded explanation of saying that you should focus on the things that you're interested in, and you should focus on the courses relevant to your major, and in my opinion you should focus on those over the other courses that, even though they might be required for your major, are not as important, and in my case those were my math courses. Okay, my next topic is a regret that I have, but if I had to go through college I'm not sure I would have done differently, which is there are a couple of courses that looking back I always think, oh my gosh, I should have taken those courses, but I didn't because I knew I wasn't really interested in them. But I kind of wish I had taken them now, just because looking back I think to myself, wow, those would have really served me well in my career. And in particular, those courses are operating systems, networking, and distributed systems. So I knew when I took computer architecture, which was required for my computer science degree, and I think is required for most computer science degrees, that I did not like computer architecture. I found it very hard. It was not what I was particularly interested in tech, and I didn't really want to focus on it. And I knew that those other classes were going to be kind of in the same vein, the same way of thinking as computer architecture, so I just decided not to take them. And while I don't think I would have enjoyed those classes in college, I do wish I had taken one or some of them just to have the experience now in my career. I'm sort of a software engineer now with absolutely no idea about networking or operating systems or things like that, and I think it's not the best position to be in. I definitely wish I had more of a background on it, and I'll probably end up learning a lot on the job in terms of those areas, but just having the opportunity to take them in college probably would have been beneficial for my career. The next thing I regret is kind of two ends of the same spectrum. So it's both procrastinating my assignments, which I think a lot of people can relate to, but then I kind of have a hot take on this. I also regret starting assignments really early. So procrastinating, I think we all know why that's bad, especially in tech and in coding. If you procrastinate on something and you leave it to the last minute, you might encounter a bug or something you absolutely cannot fix or you do not know how to solve, and then you're kind of screwed because you can't really continue your project, you can't really make any progress, and everybody's gone to bed and nobody can help you. So you never want to be in that position, which is why you should always start your projects on time. And I say on time because there were many times where I learned from my mistake of procrastinating too hard and I started way too early. And you might be thinking, Lena, it's great to start projects early. Well, I learned this the hard way in college. Starting assignments early, especially in really big computer science courses, can honestly not be the best experience. A lot of the times, especially where I went to school, it was TAs, including myself at points, who were writing the assignments. So the assignments might have been brand new, and this kind of meant that there were sometimes issues with the assignments. And I always found that if I was the first person to start the assignment, I would have to work through all of these issues with the assignment that the TAs hadn't caught, and that was just unnecessary work. I think you want to let someone else in your class take the burden of finding all of those issues with the assignment. That way, if you use a tool like Piazza or CampusWire in your classes and you start your assignment relatively on time, you can just look up on Piazza, why is this thing not doing the thing that I want? And probably other students will have posted the answer to that question. So I think especially in big courses, it can be helpful to start later because students will have asked the questions that you're going to run into, and there might already be answers online for those questions. The next thing is one of my biggest regrets in terms of computer science at college, and that is not talking to the other students in class unless I was forced to. And I did this for so long, and I probably missed out on so many great friendships and relationships I could have made because I just was really shy and refused to talk to other people unless I literally had to succeed in the class. So I think if you can, it's important to come in with an open mind, not judge people based on first impressions, but just try to get to know people in the class, especially if it's a really big lecture style class. It can be really helpful to know people in the class. So just introducing yourself to people around you, people sitting next to you, people in office hours, I think can lead to really positive relationships that will only help you in the class. I wish I had done this earlier. I would have met a lot more people this way, and I highly recommend that you do that. If you take one thing from this video, please talk to your classmates in your class. My next regret is kind of a regret about college generally and not specifically computer science, and that is I wish I had just taken more creative classes when I was in school. So as you can tell from my YouTube channel, I love making videos, I love being creative in this way, but I had to learn all of this on my own. And I think when I was in college, it was definitely a great time. I had a lot of access to film courses, creative courses, things like that, where I could have learned a lot of the practical skills for my YouTube channel, for example, but I didn't end up taking those courses, and I did have room in my schedule for them, I just didn't take them. So this is where the sponsor of this video comes in, which is, of course, you guessed it, Skillshare. I love working with Skillshare, and I've worked with them a ton in the past because I love their platform, I genuinely use it, and I really enjoy doing so. So thank you so much, Skillshare, for partnering with me on this video. If you are unfamiliar with what Skillshare is, it is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. You can explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. There are tons of classes on Skillshare for everything you might want to learn, from programming to digital design and illustration to what I've been learning on Skillshare recently, which is video editing and video production. So the class that I'm taking now is by YouTuber Ali Abdal, who I watch and I love his videos so much, and it's called Video Editing with Final Cut Pro 10 from Beginner to YouTuber. So I taught myself Final Cut Pro so there's a lot about the application that I did not know, and taking this Skillshare class has really helped me up my editing game. I've actually gotten a lot of comments on videos recently about my editing and how it's improved, so that has been really cool and I really appreciate that. Ollie makes amazing videos and has taught me a lot of skills, especially when it comes to cutting down the amount of time that it takes to edit my first draft of my YouTube video. He has a lot of really helpful tips and tricks, and I've really appreciated that. Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, which means there are never any ads, and they're always launching new premium classes so you can stay focused and follow your creativity wherever it takes you. So there's literally no reason not to try Skillshare, because I have a link in my description where the first 1,000 people to click on it can redeem their free trial of the Skillshare premium membership. So you can take the class that I talked about, you can take any programming classes, anything like that. I think it's a great tool to supplement your life, to indulge in a new hobby, or just learn skills that you should have tried to learn in college, in my case. Okay, now transitioning to some regrets that I have outside of the classroom. The first is I should have done more research outside of the classroom. So research is generally something you can do with a professor outside of class. A lot of professors are doing research into different topics that they're interested in, and I just never really hopped on this until my senior year when I kind of did my own self-guided research project. But I really wish that I had worked with a professor to sort of see how research worked, how academia worked, and if that would have been a good fit for me. I definitely feel like because I didn't do research in college, doors that might have been opened because of that are sort of closed to me now. They're not completely closed, and I can always transition into a research position if it ends up being something that I want to do. But college was definitely a good time to explore that because there were so many professors around that were doing it and so many labs I could have joined that I just didn't. So I would highly suggest just doing it to see if you like it, and just so you have it on your resume, even if you hate it, as something that you did in case it becomes helpful down the road for you. And then in terms of networking and the job search, one thing that I do regret is just taking the cushiest job that I got when I was looking for internships. I definitely just picked the one that I thought sounded the most fun at the most reputable company, which is not necessarily the way you should pick a job. You should pick it based on what interests you the most, and I definitely learned that over time after doing internships that I didn't particularly enjoy at big companies. Now, kind of transitioning into things that I don't regret about college, one thing about that specifically, even though I didn't love my internships at big companies, having a big company name is really helpful on your resume. It does make you stand out. It makes you look really credible to future employers. So if you end up getting that offer, I think it is something to consider because it will only help you down the road to have these big name companies on your resume. Another thing I don't regret about college is I took a lot of kind of humanities CS courses, if you will. So I took a lot of courses about the ethics of computer science, the ethics of technology in general, and I think those were really helpful in shaping my worldview and my perceptions on technology at large, which I think is really important when you work in the tech industry. I often find that at my job in particular, I have really strong views about how we should and shouldn't use our technology, and I feel like my other coworkers don't have this view as much and are often interested in my perspectives on it. So I think it was really helpful that I took those courses and did a lot of those readings, and I think that talking to other students about those issues really solidified a lot of the points of view that I have on those topics. And the very last thing that I want to touch on is I do not regret prioritizing practical computer science courses over theoretical computer science courses. So when I started out in the computer science major, I knew that I was really excited about the problem solving aspect of it, the actual programming of it, and as I was kind of talking about before, I was probably less interested in the math aspect of it. So I'm happy that when I was choosing courses, I tried to choose ones that were more project-based because I knew that I would do better in those courses and I would enjoy them more, and that definitely ended up being true. So if you kind of see in yourself that, hey, I think I'm really going to enjoy classes that have more projects in them, or I think I'm really more interested in doing a lot of math puzzles and proofs, you can kind of pick the courses that are best suited to you, and it'll probably make your experience a lot better if you're doing courses that you really enjoy. Okay, those are my regrets as a computer science student and now a computer science graduate from college. Let me know if you have any questions down below or you think I missed anything. I feel like I'm going to review this video and think to myself, oh my gosh, I should have said this thing that I missed, but I tried to cover them all and I hope this was helpful to you. So thank you so much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up and I will see you in my next one. Bye. Missing someone